What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. We are in the Multiverse Saga right now with the MCU, but the Mutant Era is upon us. In fact, according to Marvel Studios' president, Kevin Feige, we are in the Mutant Era right now. And Marvel Studios has some X-Men projects in the works, not just one, but it looks like at the very least two. And we have quite a bit of news as to what is to come as far as the X-Men are concerned in the MCU. Marvel Studios announced a while ago that they were looking for writers for their upcoming X-Men project. So this has been no secret from Marvel Studios. And over the last couple of months, we have learned a lot about the so-called Mutant Era from Kevin Feige, Marvel Studios, and of course some insiders as well. We've learned everything from when to expect the so-called Mutant Era to what exactly the lineup is going to look like. Now, with Deadpool and Wolverine, obviously we got some mutants. And even before Deadpool and Wolverine, Kevin Feige stated the mutants are coming, and they've mentioned names like Miss Marvel being a mutant, Kamala Khan, then Namor being a mutant. But specifically about Deadpool and Wolverine, Kevin Feige said this: also, the after is clearly, now that we have the characters from the X-Men world, the mutants, we haven't had access to before, this is the beginning of that. And every movie post Deadpool and Wolverine will be the Mutant Era coming to the MCU. That's from Marvel Studios president himself, and this implies that the movies we're going to get moving forward will all have some type of mutant association in them. And that could range from something very big like Gambit showing up in Deadpool and Wolverine to something very small like perhaps the Fantastic Four film, which is set in an alternate universe, simply mentioning the X-Men or mentioning mutants. It could be as small as that. However, make no mistake, Marvel Studios has big plans for the X-Men both before Avengers Secret Wars and after. For example, take the Marvel's post-credit scene, and if you were wondering if that scene is eventually going to pay off, yes, it is. And Kelsey Grammer, who played Beast in the original X-Men movies, has recently talked about it a little bit in an interview with comicbook.com. When asked about returning to the MCU as Beast again after the Marvel's post-credit scene, this is what he said: "There's nothing I can talk about. What I do know is that there was a huge sort of outburst when I showed up at the end of the Marvels. I guess it was. The response was really almost, it wasn't unexpected. There'd be some response, but it was pretty overwhelming. And so there are some conversations." So confirmation from Kelsey Grammer that he's in talks right now, or they're having conversations with him right now to return as Beast in an MCU movie. And most fans have been thinking this already, but what makes the most sense is that the Beast that we saw in the post-credit scene of the Marvels exists in the universe 10005, the universe that we were introduced to, well, really with the first X-Men film, but was told specifically was the 10005 universe in Deadpool and Wolverine. In Deadpool and Wolverine, they confirmed the 10005 universe is the Deadpool universe, but it is also the same universe that all of the X-Men films and Logan took place in. This is just one of the X-Men teams that we're going to be seeing in Avengers Secret Wars. Now, these are going to be the original X-Men that we've known from this universe, from the original X-Men films, but there is another team coming, and they are coming before Avengers Secret Wars, and they will consist of new X-Men. And thanks to an insider report, we kind of know what the X-Men reboot team is going to look like. You might have heard some of this report earlier this week, but according to insider Daniel RPK, the current treatment for the X-Men reboot does not include Wolverine. And there is a very specific reason for this. He states that there's not going to be a Wolverine on the new reboot X-Men team because Hugh Jackman is staying on for now, even probably after Secret Wars. That Deadpool quote, "until you're 90, is really sticking true here. And one has to wonder perhaps if they already knew Hugh Jackman was going to stick around after Deadpool and Wolverine, and that's where that joke came from. Now, right away, I'd love to hear what you all think about this in the comments. Do you think this is a good idea, having Wolverine stick around even after Secret Wars, even after the new rebooted X-Men team is formed and him still playing Wolverine? Let me know your thoughts about that. Now, as far as continuity-wise and story-wise, they can make this work because from what we've heard about the soft reboot after Avengers Secret Wars, it's not going to be a hard reboot. Yes, some characters will not survive, possibly the OG Avengers, who's left of them at least, probably won't survive because we've heard that they want to reboot characters like Iron Man, Captain America, Black Widow. That way they can have them with the X-Men, with the Fantastic Four, which makes sense. However, some characters will survive, including some of the newer X-Men characters that will be a part of the new X-Men roster, which we're about to get into. But the fact that some characters won't survive and will eventually get rebooted, and the characters will be played by new actors, but some characters will survive, for example, Tom Holland's Spider-Man, make it very easy for Hugh Jackman to continue to play Wolverine. And you have to wonder if Marvel Studios kind of thought what a lot of fans think, and that is it's going to be really hard to find a new Wolverine. Hugh Jackman did such an incredible job. He's still currently doing an incredible job. It's going to be so hard to find a replacement Wolverine coming off of Hugh Jackman's Wolverine, especially since he just returned in an epic way in Deadpool and Wolverine. And a lot of fans have even stated before, if we do a new X-Men team, they probably shouldn't include Wolverine in it. Not at first. At first, have an X-Men team without him. Then eventually, after the years pass, go on and have a new Wolverine. But simply having Hugh Jackman stay on as Wolverine kind of solves that problem. We still get to have a Wolverine, we still get to have some of those multiversal aspects in the MCU even after the Multiverse Saga. Then when he finally does decide to put down the claws for a final time, in which case I'm not sure if it will ever be a final time, because right now anything is possible with the MCU, and I'm sure 30 years from now it'll still be possible. But ultimately, you can cast a new Wolverine, and it would actually be pretty cool to see the new Wolverine and Hugh Jackman's Wolverine fight alongside each other. But again, let me know your thoughts about that. Now, Daniel RPK states that the rest of the X-Men team for the rebooted X-Men team is going to be very similar to what we got with X-Men 97. And a month ago, he actually specifically stated that the X-Men reboot will feature Kitty Pryde and Gambit. And according to another insider, take this with a grain of salt, My Time to Shine Hello, she states that Angel, Iceman, and Jubilee will be a part of the X-Men reboot as well. So it basically kind of seems like we're going to get the X-Men 97 team with a little bit of X-Men First Class thrown in there. So what we're looking at here is Professor X, Magneto, Jean Grey, Cyclops, Beast, maybe Morph, Bishop, Rogue, Gambit, Jubilee, Angel, Iceman, and Kitty Pryde. That's a lot of X-Men characters, at least a lot to be a part of one team on screen at the same time, not compared to how many they actually have to use. But this is a separate team. This is not the X-Men that are a part of the 10,005 universe. These X-Men are going to be from a different universe, probably the 616 universe. So we basically have the old X-Men and the new X-Men, and don't expect to be introduced to all of the newer X-Men in the Multiverse Saga. I'm sure some will come before Secret Wars because Marvel Studios clearly has plans for that, but I don't think we're going to get a new rebooted X-Men film until after the Multiverse Saga. But what is really cool is we are going to get two different sets of X-Men coming together in the Multiverse Saga. And I am really excited to see how exactly they're going to bring this all together. Now, before Robert Downey Jr. was announced to be returning to the MCU as Doctor Doom, it looked like Marvel Studios had plans to do an Avengers vs. X-Men film. And I've always stated that this makes a lot of sense because when universes collide and the destruction of the multiverse is happening, and then all of a sudden you're on a new planet face to face with a new team of people who have powers or enhanced capabilities through tech, you might not really view them as friendly, especially if your world just got destroyed. So the X-Men coming in contact with the Avengers could have definitely resulted in, at least at first, a fight and a lot of mistrust. Now, I do believe we're going to get this, but according to Alex Perez from the Cosmic Circus, we might not get this in a standalone movie. We might get a quick Avengers vs. X-Men scene, possibly in Avengers Doomsday, or in a film in between Doomsday and Secret Wars, or even in Secret Wars. But for right now, at least, it doesn't seem like Marvel Studios is going to go ahead with a solo film focused solely on the Avengers vs. X-Men, which I am personally okay with. I do want to see them fight because I think that would be absolutely epic, especially if it were the older X-Men that we've seen on screen and grew up with, at least for me personally, fighting the Avengers. That would be awesome, but I don't think it needs an entire movie dedicated to them fighting. I hope we get a really, really good, really long scene or multiple scenes of them fighting, but eventually some people like Professor X or Doctor Strange will realize, hey, we shouldn't be fighting each other. None of us are the bad guys here. And the only way to save the multiverse is to work together. And then of course that's when they'll realize Doom. Doom is the real enemy. Doom is the threat to the multiverse. Because as cool as it's going to be to see them fight each other, it's going to be insanely cool to see them fight together on the same team. And it's really cool that we'll say in Secret Wars probably, we're going to see multiple different X-Men teams, probably multiple different Avengers teams, hopefully the Illuminati's thrown in there, maybe the Inhumans, Defenders, etc. All of these teams fight together to take down Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom. That sounds amazing, and hopefully this is somewhat along the lines of what Marvel Studios has planned for that big finale for Avenger Secret Wars. So go ahead, let me know all of your thoughts about these X-Men teams and Avenger Secret Wars, bringing them all together in the comments down below. And please don't forget to like this video if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel so you can stay up to date on the X-Men, the new Avengers, the Fantastic Four, and everything with the MCU. You can also find us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And as always, thank you all so much for watching. Woof woof.